My wife tells me that I have tails, that she can, just by looking at me, know what's going on. And I tend to agree with her because I am of the impression that my wife is smarter than me, especially when it comes to me. Because you would think that I would know myself better than me, but I'm from the inside looking in, really. Like, I have a pretty biased perspective. But my wife can look at me and know the difference. And I've always appreciated that. I do my best to be humble. I try to be a humble person and not toot my own horn because I don't like setting up expectations that I may not be able to live up to. I don't want, like, I've never been the guy to be like, yeah, we gonna have sex and I'm gonna sick it so far up in you, it's gonna come out your back. Like, what if, like, let's say I was really fucking good at all the sex. Like, let's say that, like, that's really, truly my jam. What if I'm having an off night that night? Or, like, what if she's so fine, I stick it in and I come too quick, and she's like, I thought it was gonna come out my ass. Now I look stupid. And no, you don't get a second chance. You're like, oh, well, the next time it might go out. No, she already know. That's just not a thing anymore. So, you can't really, you get the point though, right? Like, I just try not to be braggy. Like, I do my best to be humble about my shit because I recognize that there are more things that I don't know that I know. And it's good to listen to other people who know better. That being said, I did this interview today on the Galaxy Man show. And I thought I did a really good job. Like, we had some dimension issues there at the beginning because I'm a tilt my camera to the side kind of guy, and his was just straight up. Whatever, I'll follow your format, but I feel like I walked into that bitch and fucking nailed that shit. Like, I saw this as an opportunity to, these are eyes I'm not going to have. Like, I don't know, we'll talk about it as I go look on my other phone. I don't know how many followers this dude has or what his, like, count looks like or anything. That really wasn't the point for me. The point was, here was a guy who is at the very least, he's interviewing people who do things that I'm doing. So let's call that what it is. I'm on his page now. I don't have no problem turning the phone if you just want to see this dude. The Galaxy Man show, he has 847 followers. Not a whole lot, but you know what? It's like 800 more than me. So it's fine. And all he does is he hypes, like, interviews and other people's projects. Like, that's his whole thing. Like, the Galaxy Man show is just too big MC for Power Rangers. He just, yeah, this guy's got a hype new thing, check it out. Like, but you know what? That's cool. That's super cool. But I feel like I got on there and I fucking nailed that. I did a good job. And while I had 847 people who potentially could have seen me talking about my thing, it was important that there were a few things that I stressed. One was that I am a writer first and a director second. Two, that I kind of know my shit, but, like, gimbal work and that is not going to be my strong suit, but continuity will be. I stressed in great detail that continuity is important and I need to maintain that. I also felt like my answers were very inclusive. For example, like, at the end, he was like, just what advice you give, and I kind of went on this thing about how this is a welcoming fandom, and they would just let you in even if you didn't quite fit in the spandex. And my wording there was very particular. It was like, everybody's welcome, come on in, Like, I'm already in here, but you can also come, you know? And I think that's honestly the biggest appeal of this fandom overall is how inclusive everybody is. Like, people, they prepare themselves. Like, there's a guy who's a little special needs. I regret not knowing his name offhand, but he's got a Pink Ranger uniform, and sometimes people give him shit, and it's like, why? Why would you give him shit? Like, here's a dude who loves the franchise so much, he's suited up, and pink just happens to be his color. Like, heroes come in all colors. Isn't that the mantra that we always talk about? Isn't that what we say? Like, it don't matter. Didn't Jack tell Sky that it didn't matter what color you were if you just did the job? Like, these are the things that we should be telling people, not, oh, you look silly in pink. But I digress. My point is, I really feel solid about the interview that I gave, and I think that I gave some solid points. I didn't know this, and it wasn't part of the plan. It's just it comes with sincerity, I think. I ended up, after that interview, I watched it over, which is always weird because watching myself on camera is weird. But I eventually ended up watching No Nerds Here. If you guys remember that fan film that Jessica Rae did, where it's kind of her and it's kind of a parody. I was watching that, and there's a scene where she's getting her hair done in a salon or something, and she's like, "Well, I'm doing a thing with Joss Whedon. He said I was shiny," and it's like, Joss Whedon happens to be like my fucking idol. Like, that's the guy. Like, I would love to shake that man's hand and sit down at a Starbucks, listen to shit music, and talk for 3 hours about character development. Like, wow. Hashtag goals. So that slight connection, at least it was kind of like Power Ranger fans know who Joss Whedon is, so that was cool. Like, and I'm giving them all this shit about female empowerment, which didn't even come off as condescending because I didn't sit down with this female empowerment rah-rah. It's just Buffy just happened to be a strong character in the 90s, and we didn't care about what was going on between her legs. You know, she was just a strong action hero. And those are the sorts of things that I am trying to do. I was very clear about wanting to wrap a blanket around everything and say there are some things in the show that don't make sense. There are some things in the fan fictions that don't make sense. There are some things in some of these films that these guys are putting out that don't make sense. There are some things going on in my shit that don't make sense. But do you know how we make it make sense? We make it make sense. We give it the rationalization it needs, and that's me. That'll be me. That's, you talk about, it's the difference between a seat at the table and the table. You know, like, I don't mind being one many voices because I'm in a community where I feel like I'm being heard and acknowledged by my peers, and that's fine. But and I don't want to understate that. I don't want to say that passively. I kind of said it was like, and I just brushed it aside. Let's take a minute to enjoy. Let's suck that in. I am respected by my peers for the body of work that I have done, and I haven't put anything out yet. People are just, they're hearing what I'm saying, and I'm talking about it, and they're seeing the vision, and they're down. They're reading what I've been writing, and they're like, I want to be a part of it. Right after the interview, I got like a couple of more followers, not a whole lot, but I got a couple of messages from people. It's like, yeah, man, that sounds tight. What are you into? How can I help? Like, I was looking for somebody who could do like news reports, like based in the fictional universe for me. And I had a couple of ideas, and I was surprised that 98% of the people that I reached out to were like, oh yeah, absolutely. Not only that, I know a guy who would want to do a thing too. What do you need? And I'm humbled by that. Like, there are times where sometimes I have to remind myself who the fuck I am. you know. But then there are other times when people remind me who the fuck I am. And I'm like, oh wow, you guys really dig my shit. It's nice. So I move forward. I have plans. I was going to turn the camera so you can see the sword. You've seen it. I'm not doing that. But I need to work on a trailer. I want to work on this news thing that we're trying to do. I have a lot of things in the works. And I'm excited. And I'm so excited that my wife is excited. I love that she's as into it as she is. You know? But I think that's about it. I think I'm done. I'm tired, and I've taken sleeping pills, and I have weed. So imagine where my head is. So this is where we will part. Go away now.